Well, here we go. And the cat goes in because he's stubborn as hell. All right. Y'all see the title. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. So, these are three amongst many other distinctions that exist. Just in living, I'll put it that way. I could say human interactions or something like that, but that sounds cringe. So let's break these down a little bit and kind of breaking down a history of it. Nationalism used to be more of a liberal idea. The idea that people are fighting for national liberation, right? Now, of course, like I said, that was more of a European thing, and it became more of a full-on left-wing idea with African nations, for example, declaring their independence from France or the UK. And so that's where nationalism is. Now, of course, nationalism, this is what a lot of left-wing folks will say, and people that support the DPRK say, is there is proletarian nationalism and bourgeoisie nationalism. Proletarian nationalism is to say that we're all part of one country and we're going to fight, and it's more patriotic without being racist. Versus, something where our people are better than your people type of thing. Like I said, the whole nationalism versus patriotism argument, anywho. Regionalism. Regionalism, to me, it's a little harder to figure out. Because, of course, regionalism and nationalism do have overlapping beliefs, such as the Bretons, in Brittany, in France, or the Basque in Spain and in France. Some overlap there. Or the various peoples of Russia. Like you could talk about the Kalmyks, or you could talk about the Mongolians to a point. Like I say, I don't know, Mongolia is its own country. I know, but there are some that were involved. Caucasians, right? These are regional identities, which leads us into Clannism, right? Now the whole reason I made this video is because I saw a great Shaw Brothers film. You could find it, I think, on fareastfilms.com for a fairly good price. I think like $8.99. The Imperial, or the Secret Service of the Imperial Court, which is basically about the Brocade Guard. And basically what it involves is that a lot of it is about loyalty to your family versus loyalty to the country. And basically what it is that a eunuch takes over. Basically, the emperor is a horn dog who the eunuch takes advantage of and basically just uses him, so that he can gain power. Once he gains power, he does a lot of corrupt stuff and stuff like that. People making deals, etc., etc. And so this sets the difference between nationalism versus the clan. In this case, I'm talking about the Zhao clan in this case. Excellent movie, like I said. Ku Feng playing the father. And his son is the sergeant of the brigade, and this Brocade Guard. And of course, what it leads to is that the clan will be destroyed unless they kill Zhao Bufa and send his head to show this the eunuch. And it made me think about how that exists today. I'm gonna have to close the door because I know it's getting loud. It's getting cringe. So hold on. All right. But I think it's important to find the overlaps, but also the differences in these things. Nationalism depends to a point, but nationalism requires making regions bend and also clans to bend to the will of the state, right? And like I say, with Hitler, there was the big North-South divide with National Socialism, right? There was, sorry about that, but the Strasser brothers, along with Goebbels in the north, and then Hitler and Rome and those folks in the south. Now, we got to be careful, but yeah. When reading about the autobiography for Ernst Röhm, he was obviously very much a Bavarian, right? And obviously there are different states within Germany that do have a fair amount of strength still within the larger federal government, but there's a lot, like I say, I'm not German, so I can't really speak to it, but there's a lot of that power that still exists to some degree. Like I said, probably to a different degree than what it was. But, people would just think of, the difference between, this region versus that region. It's much more complicated than that. Like I said, people have simplified things to maybe like, in terms of clan, maybe the Hohenzollerns, or even in the United States, because of course we call it American Camelot. We think about the Kennedys, in terms of clans. And I think it's, or Hatfields and McCoys maybe in terms of clans, right? That's the whole thing. I think it's a different sort of thing. Obviously you look at China and the strength of clans, it was very strong. You even think of the Ma clique, right? Of people like Ma Bufang and folks like that. Now, of course, as far as I know, they weren't all part of the same family officially, but they were all Sunni Muslim. And of course, they were, I'm trying to think of the distinction, but basically they were Sunni Muslim who believed these ideas and kind of had a somewhat kind of a quasi-socialist sort of society, especially under Ma Bufang. Now, of course, I've said these types of things, and you can research it for yourself and say, that's bullshit. And that would be fair. You should say that. But the thing we need to realize from an American context is very hard to say, is that the nationalism aspect to me is wearing thin. And I think that regionalism is going to play a much bigger part. Now, of course, how artificial astroturfed it probably will be, I think that's what people are going to go towards. A sort of clan type of thing, it would exist in some cases, but I think generally speaking, kind of the good old boy system where, the cousin is the mayor, the dad is dad is a judge or something like, who the hell knows, right? You can make up whatever type of thing, but that's more nepotism, more so than an actual clanism, so to speak. But, I think it's important to realize as things break down, as the system breaks down, as this two-party system breaks down, we have to realize that these distinctions are very real. And then once nationalism goes, you're going to have more of a regionalism, maybe even a straight-up warlordism. People think somehow, there are a lot of ignorant people, in my opinion, who feel like, fascism is going to take over. Where? From the Republican Party? You give the Republican Party too much credit. No. Republican Party is literally fascist. No, the Republican Party is barely hanging on to any sort of significance. Like I said, this is they give this idiotic belief that fascism makes the enemy look strong and weak at the same time. It's like you're doing the same thing where you're saying that the Republicans are weak and they don't have any power, but then they simultaneously have enough power suddenly to overthrow the federal government. I mean, a lot of folks, like I say, after January 6th, I think a lot of folks just feel abandoned by the Republican Party. And a lot of folks are going to get sold out, more so even than now. So, I don't know. It's important to understand these distinctions. And I feel that that's where we're going. It's nice to promote some sort of American nationalism, but it's not realistic right now. It just isn't. Because nobody can agree on broadly the same things, right? All people really want is just so that we can keep up, as long as we keep getting the medicines that we need and keep on getting the food that we want and being able to watch our Netflix without any interruptions, and everything else, then it's okay. And we realize that, the issues with the supply line, I think should make us realize that what is holding on to this country? We've asked this question many times, right? In these videos. What is really keeping this country together? Is it its money and a basic standard of living, generally speaking? And a general stupefying and a general sort of, control of the narrative, right? Is it ultimately the cringe sort of neoliberal form of nationalism that we're under controls the regional forces and the sort of clan forces, right? So ultimately, they subserviate themselves. They subserve themselves. I'm not sure if it's subserviate. I don't know if I think that's a word. But one subserviates to the other to have this sort of national capitalist neoliberal sort of system that we have, right? But I think that, like I say, I still hold this belief. I still hold this belief that some areas are just going to be forgotten. Some areas are just going to be ignored. It's like that, like I say, certain, like I say, Montana, a lot of the flyover states, those places are going to be forgotten. They're just going to say, we don't care about them. It's why people want to get rid of the Electoral College. As cringe as the Electoral College is, it gives the facade that everyone has the opportunity to vote. Once that's gone, Montana, the Dakotas, et cetera, these, Iowa, et cetera, these states no longer have any power at all. The Iowa caucus, that, like I say, if you think that's symbolism now, wait until there's no more Electoral College. There's no reason to go to Iowa. People just simply go to, Los Angeles and go to these, big populated cities. They're going to go to the highest populated cities and have, concerts. Probably in the same way that, it's like that, U2, or probably not U2, sorry. Or I don't know. Travis Scott with President-elect Joe Biden, who's going to be, talking to you today about, voting at the polls next week or whichever, right? That's what it's going to be. Now, maybe some of that is conspiracy. Maybe it's just my paranoid rantings, but we have to understand these distinctions, especially in the United States, of a nationalism versus a regionalism versus a Clannism versus, a loyalty to a company or whichever, right? There are various loyalties that exist. And we have to understand on a deeper level what these are, right? Like I say, in China, I'll put it this way, in my very ignorant view, in China, for centuries there has been a loyalty to your clan. Yes, there was loyalty to a country and loyalty to the dynasty and to the emperor, absolutely. But there's also a loyalty to the family and to the clan, right? You think of, Chenja Go, which literally means, Qin family plot. And this is where Qin style Taiji is practiced. But this is where the Qin style of Taiji sits. And there's ancestor worship and all that sort of thing. This still goes on in other places. Now, of course, like I say, you can debate all day about, how much is that practiced in China or whichever the case may be, but this is something you can't really get rid of. It's part of their culture. It's a different sort of thing in the United States. I think that some of that was, I guess you could talk about the mafia maybe, but it's a different sort of thing. It's much more underground in some cases. And from what I've seen, I know people are going to be like, oh, I don't know about that. And that's fine. You can correct me where I'm wrong and say, no, you're full of shit. I always welcome that. I always do. And I'll say, fair enough. I usually type that in the comments and just say, fair enough. All right. I'll take the L and move on. But it's important to figure these things out in your local community and see where these things go, right? It's very important. Yeah, like I say, it's a very complicated subject, and there are plenty of other intersections, if we want to see it that way. Plenty of other intersections that do exist that I'm leaving out that I don't know about really. But these are the main three that I can think of. And there are plenty that can branch off. Like I say, 1,000, like I say, it's just like a huge spider web of just, nationalism, what does that mean? Or regionalism, what does that mean? Or Clannism, what does that mean? And they all branch off, and people all have their reasons why they believe in all those things. But that's all I really have to say about that. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this and made y'all think a little bit. That's really my only goal, to make y'all say, that was an interesting video. So if y'all enjoyed that, that's the goal. Anywho, hopefully y'all enjoyed that. See you later. Goodbye.